Good evening. Welcome to the Mother's Board. Today is October the 11th, 2024, and we are delighted to be with you. With me today is Pastor Shirley
Howdy.
and
We
our
go Texas. Howdy.
she, we're going to just say she's helping Big Tex out over there in Fayetteville, Texas. But so far, thank God, it's going well.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
there's one injury reported
Incident.
for
Oh, yes.
a horse, but we don't really know too much about that. But we are thankful and we are being prayerful that it goes on as it has been, as safe as it has been. It's designed to give some fun and some pleasure and relaxation, and let's
Yes.
let it keep being that. So
Yes.
we're gonna say, Big Tex, thanks you very much for your howdy, folks. Today we
It's,
have a great show for you. We're going to be looking at some politics and current events and some sports and some of the things that we do each week um, grow out of things that we've done earlier. And we are going to do a prayer now so that we want to thank the Lord for allowing us to have this medium in order to address those who are on the internet. We also want to say and to have God to lead us in such a way that none of our messages are malice or done from an evil heart. They are done to inform, they are done to cause you to think perhaps in a different manner that you were thinking earlier, and they're done to just bring a little joy in your life. We get to talk about the things that matter to our health that is our physical health, our mental health, as well as our spiritual health. So we ask these things and other blessings in your name. Amen.
amen. All
Uh,
right.
would you like to say some words of greeting, Pastor
Hi,
Shirley?
hi, everybody. We're happy to be on here. We're like what 1 hour and 45 minutes, or is it 2 hours? Anyway, from our regular time. But thank God we have this avenue to come on and be with you. And
Whatever.
thank you, everybody, for being here with us.
Uh,
Okay.
well, let's get started with our questions that we have. The Mother's Board has this very special thing. It allows us and those others who are not with us today, it allows us to share what we're thinking. Now, if you don't agree, at the end of the show, you have some email addresses that you can, contradict us. But we're not trying to be controversial. We're simply trying to share with you some things that we have on our minds. So we will go with the first question. Pastor Shirley, do you have it or you want me to read it?
Would you read it, please?
Okie dokie, let's get back over here to it. All right, number one. Um, what is your reaction? Oh, wait, that may be the one from last. No, it's okay. What is your reaction to the campaign misinformation being conducted regarding the presence of FEMA assistance as a result of two recent hurricanes? What is your reaction to that?
There. Okay. Um, would you start that off? Because I went into that, but I read where there's some information going around saying that FEMA is turning trucks around, supply trucks around, and that they're taking some of the supplies from the trucks and different things like that, not letting the supplies get to the people. So is that anything to do with what you were?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Expand, if you will, because that too is misinformation. Because
Mm-hmm.
FEMA is an organization, it is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and
Right.
it's under Homeland Security, and there's, there's enough for everyone to do. But I imagine there are some persons who just want to do, and when you're trying to help a lot of people, certain amount of organization is required.
Oh,
I saw
yes.
a segment on the news, I believe it was last week after Helene, said that we're turning around the helicopters,
Mm-hmm.
pilots who were volunteering to,
Really?
and yes, airlift people out of, I believe it was North Carolina at the time, that section that's mountainous and sort of valleys and hills. Well,
Okay.
I'm not believing that people will be that cruel, but there is a way to do everything.
Mm.
That's interesting. That's truly, but that too is part of the misinformation that you have going on.
And all this stuff is designed around. It's just so much going on because, and there's a design for all of this anyway. People
Mhm.
have intentions of affecting something and infecting something also, and it has probably to do with this election. And
Yes,
yes, that it misinformation so they can blame it on
yes.
the
But,
opposite side.
well, and the whole thing is that you hit, as my dad used to say, you hit the nail right on the head
Hmm.
because the original misinformation came from the other group running for um, the office of the White House. However,
Oh.
I know you have to be down and dirty, but again, you don't have to go out and spread misinformation. We're talking about people who are at the last straw, whose homes have been destroyed, whose cars are destroyed, their jobs are no longer there. They are being nature, which they
Hmm.
have to remember. And thank you for letting me do the book of Job and the nature yesterday, Wednesday. Um, nature, God is showing you what nature has the power to do. All of
Yes.
it's in His control. When you look at the pictures of the before town, what the scenes look like in the
Hmm.
town, and then you look at what they look like now, or the one that bothered me last night was the uh, the it was in Florida where the truck, the what do you call all terrain truck was going down the street, and
Hmm.
the alligator was biting on the
For,
tires. And
for
I'm
real.
like, I'm like, okay,
Oh
because
my goodness. An alligator.
alligator. He took a picture of it. I know some people would believe it. The one thing I did do especially after Milton came through, I said,
Hmm.
okay, where do these snakes go and where do these alligators go? And
Mm.
your
Hmm.
muskrats, where do they go? And, and I found out that the alligators could go down in the ponds, in the sanctuaries, and even
Uh-huh.
in the open water, and they can stay down there. They can breathe underwater for 6 hours,
I
and that
believe
they
it.
were going to take care of the smaller animals. But the head of the wildlife sanctuary was admonishing people to be careful when you go back. I'm
Hmm.
thinking to myself, I know what you're saying. You know that snakes
Hmm.
and things that get under the bridge. And we're not talking little snakes, folks. We're talking
No,
pythons.
the big ones,
Pythons here.
the
Yeah.
ones that can get you and eat you up. Well, they'll swallow you. Yes. Oh my goodness.
But back to the misinformation. We have candidates just out there, as our President Biden said, they're just lying. They're
Yeah.
simply lying. They want to cause even more divisiveness
Hmm.
among people. But
Hmm.
when you have this kind of disaster, you need not try to cause a problem. Just work together. You have people coming in from all over the United States trying to make sure you have a meal, trying to make sure you have a place to stay,
Right.
clothes. I love the ones who take you for people forget they need to wash clothes, so they're bringing in the
Right.
portable laundries. It Let's just do the good stuff and not worry. But if you think someone is listening and you this is a chance for you to say something that's stupid,
Right.
you have to mention the governor of Florida. When Vice President Harris offered her assistance, there was not even a response from him. And then when her campaign released that, then he says he wasn't aware she called. She
Oh,
didn't call
nah.
as a candidate. She called as the current
Right.
vice president.
As vice
What,
president. Right.
what can we do? What can I help you do? You know, I don't know,
Wow.
Pastor Shirley, but the
Hate.
misinformation,
Hate.
yes, we're going to get
And
to
we're
talk.
going to get to that too.
Yeah,
We'll
but
get
it,
to that.
but it
Yes.
is hate.
It
Just
is.
try
That's
to
all it is.
help the people.
Jealousy, envy, hate, and clamoring for power, and
Yes,
all of that. It's
all
just
seven
terrible.
of those deadly sins are right there.
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's terrible.
And the people who haven't even been discovered, there are older people, especially in Florida, where they were in assisted living, but not always in there. So they
Mhm.
don't know whether someone came and helped them go out when the mass exodus of people were trying to get out, or whether
Mhm.
they are victims of, the storm itself.
Mhm.
I think that's where we should be, and not so much on let me get a half a point up, or
Mhm.
you know, there are other people out there thinking like me. No, let's do this right.
Right, but hey, that's too much like right to do it right. So,
Too much like it.
too much like right to do it right. It's just a terrible thing, and the thing about it is that it's not going to get any better.
I don't think so. I
It's
think
not going to. It cannot, because it just won't, because of course scripture tells us that evil men will wax worse and worse, and anyone who wants harm to come to another human being and does all kinds of things to block the progress and the process, that's evil.
yes, that's evil.
Trying to
That's that.
hinder good, that is evil. And whether these people know it or even think about it, I used to ask Elder Davis, and I said, Elder Davis, do you think these people think they're going to heaven? Elder Davis said, these people ain't even think about heaven, Sister J.
Not
These
even think.
not thinking about it. These people do some terrible, terrible things. And then, I mean, they act like, oh, it's my right to do it, just like I want to
Yes,
do it.
yes.
And then
That's
other
what
people are
frightens me
suffering.
most. That
Yes.
frightens me most.
And then the things, all this misinformation they're putting out there, there are people listening to this who need that help, and then they're seeing this in a different light, because some of those people believe it because they have no other uh what is it, reason to not believe it, and then they think that people are not trying to get to them and help them, and so it's really a terrible thing, all this misinformation and all that, but this stuff is deliberate.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
here's the part that bothers me too. And you said it. $750, according to FEMA, according
Mm-hmm.
to the Homeland Security person. That's $750 that is being given. Is not the only $750. That's
Right.
the initial money given them to take care of their personal needs right now.
Right.
They will fill the paperwork out. At those, we realize some of the paperwork is gone. They'll do whatever they need to do to get additional money. Now,
Mm-hmm.
FEMA is not broke, by the way. Congress just passed a bill, $20 million extension, and draw on the money as you need it. Meaning,
All
if you
right.
need additional money now for personnel or whatever you need it for,
Mm-hmm.
then use it.
Yes.
The idea that FEMA is there to help.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's there for. So please stop the misinformation, as you said, because some people will become discouraged and won't even apply.
Exactly. What is that? There's this saying, they stop the madness.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
stop the madness.
how appropriate.
It's
Stop
just
the
ridiculous. But that's when
madness.
people are selfish, and they only think about themselves, and they don't have any consideration for anyone else besides themselves. And it's just terrible that people have to suffer because of their selfishness. But it's happening. But then there are those of us who can pray, and prayer will go
Yes.
where we cannot. And so these people are going to get that help regardless of all of these lies these people are spreading, and all of the what is it, the hindrances they try to put in the pathway of help and all that. And then all these people who want to get before the cameras and be so important, you
Amen.
know. It's okay now. Okay.
And you know,
All
Bob,
right.
you know, the GOP nominee was in the White House, so he knows the process. So
Hmm.
why would you go out and say that? You know, but nobody's standing on process so much. Let's find the people. Let's get them saved. You know,
Right.
as you said, that everything's gone for them. It's starting over for them.
Yes. And
That's,
oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
no, I was done.
Uh, I saw where those houses are almost completely buried in sand.
Yes, I saw that.
I
I
said,
saw that.
"Wow, it's just amazing." And I do this quote again. I just said it to Mike Hale on the way over here. Be it but for the grace of God, there go I. It could have
Yes,
been us, but by the grace
yes,
of God, it's not us. And I'm not saying it's God's grace that put it on the people, because things and the weather and all of that, we know these things happen. But I don't want anybody, if anybody is listening to us from, because I do have one of my classmates live there, and she lives in Florida, but she did put some pictures up, and she was showing where that they were safe and they didn't have any damage there at their home. So I'm glad of that. But we're praying for everyone, because we don't know where disaster is going to strike next.
that's true.
We
That's
just
true.
don't know. And so, to all of these misinforming people out there, stop it. Stop the madness.
Stop
Okay,
the
doctor.
madness. Stop the madness.
Stop the madness.
I want to go off script for a second. One of the things that happened this week, earlier
Uh-huh.
this week, was where all of the commissioners of the sporting leagues came together. And when
Uh-huh.
you said stop the madness, I saw that and I thought to myself, they have the campaign.
Uh-huh.
Things are going to run this video will run in the stadium and on the TV and on the internet where it
Uh-huh.
says stop the hate. That is
Stop the
part
hate.
of it too, but they're just focused on the really on the hate generally, but the focus is like on the anti-Semitic. But as African Americans, we have experienced that for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolutely right. It was great to see going, the baseball, basketball, soccer, and hockey, and
Mm-hmm.
Robert Kraft, and it was great to see them sit down and just say that they're trying to expand their sports globally, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but they're getting players from all over. So
Okay.
there's no place for this kind of hate.
No
So
place, but it's out there. But the good thing about it is that we are so resilient.
yeah,
And we have made it through so much. And I'm talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about every human being out here. We have been through so much, but God made us so strong and resilient so we can stand anything. And then we look back, and what does that song say? My soul look back and wonder how I
how
got over. And these people will
yes,
look back one day, and because they're used to these storms coming, okay, going back there, these storms coming through, but you never, never, never get, what is it? It's always bad. You never just say, well, oh, we're so used to it. It never happens like that.
you never become complacent with that, and well, and on top of all of this, we still have persons who say, "Oh, there's no issue with climate change. Something is happening. I don't know
Yes.
what you call it, but as you said, storms did come through, but these are different kinds of climatic conditions. They definitely are different types of climatic conditions going on right now."
Right, right.
Oh, you ready to move to two? Question number two, ma'am. Are you ready for question number two? Okay, let me get over here to, all right, number two. If you could ask one question of Colin Aldrich and Ted Cruz during their debate on October 15th, what would you ask? If you
You
could
know,
ask just one question.
I thought about that today, and I was thinking, you know what? 3 words. Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Right. Whatever you're promising, whatever you plan to do, are you serious about it? And now I believe Colin Allred is, and I believe that this other person is too. But then they're thinking differently.
Yes.
Yeah. So are you serious? Are you going to do as much as you possibly can? Because we know that they don't have any control and they have to go through, they're running for what? Is it
Senate,
Senate?
Senate,
And so
Senate.
they've got to go through votes and all that kind of stuff. We know some of the things that they want. They're going to have to compromise and all of that. But I, those are three words that came to me. Are you serious? And not meaning, and kind of some of the things that people say that are just off the charts and just off. Are you serious? And then the other one, are you serious? Are you serious? And so, anyway, we can say it so many different ways. But anyway, that's mine. That's what I would say. What about you?
Well, I actually tried to go back and research their records on the border, on the immigration and the border,
Mm-hmm.
because for me they're not separate. And one of the things that I noticed, and I believe it from my heart, none of this will change until the legal aspects of it changes. And
Right.
going back to the original, how did this happen, and who's encouraging it? You know, things like this just don't
Mm-hmm.
happen. Well, only God can have that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't always happen. But you have a conservative person over here, you know, who has done things like involve the Coast Guard and immigration, and who believes that um, when when the young lady Joycelyn was killed by the two Venezuelan immigrants, and
Mm-hmm.
situations like that, he believes they should be locked up. That definitely should happen. But on the other hand, Colin Aldrich has some he has some think tank information.
Mm-hmm.
He has a definite plan for immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses it in his literature. He uses things like a humanitarian campus for them to be held in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so far, Mr. Cruz has said leave them in Mexico until they're done. Well, when they get into Mexico, they normally either come across because they're tired of waiting, or the Mexican government encourages them to go back, and they wind up coming back again.
Coming back. That's right.
But we're talking about um, uh, leaving a situation where you put the processing materials and people down on the border before they even come in.
Mm-hmm.
Have a definite path of, of, of citizenship. You know, they have to do the criminal background check.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called e-verify. What
Mm-hmm.
he's proposing is that employers
Mm-hmm.
check the immigration status of their employees, of the undocumented employees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's definitely a help
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people hire the undocumented workers because they don't have to pay them as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from a culture that says money first, people second. So look at the thing I would ask: what is the one thing in your policy that you really believe in? Not the party line, but what you believe in
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to push. You
That's
know, what is it?
great.
Not what the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. What is it you? Because they should have a real stake in this. We're talking about Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They should have a real stake. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You keep
Oh no, that's what we're here for. To speak your mind and speak your point of view. And it's always in a tasteful way.
well, yeah, that's right. As they
Oh
say, we try
yes.
to keep it clean. we
Yes,
try to
ma'am. And that's what we do here. That's what we do. And we have great conversations. But I want to go back. Last week, I had statistics on the border wall.
Yes.
And so I want to go here. I went back to this fact check.
Yeah.
Uh, and border experts say construction crews won't come close to even finishing the work that is currently funded. So most of all, and this is what I'm getting to, most of the wall constructed to date, and this was in 2022, has been replacement for existing dilapidated or inadequate fencing, despite earlier plans to build new barriers where none existed before. In 2018, an administration official testified that his agency would build 316 miles of new pedestrian barriers in addition to what is there now. But to date, only about 40 miles of such new fencing have been built. And that's what they were saying. And then here, oh, yeah, yeah. Other border experts warned not to minimize the impact of the replacement fencing. And then down here it says Customs and Border Protection also have replaced nearly 200 miles of vehicle barriers, the type that people could walk right through, with 30-foot high steel bollards igniting or lighting and other technology. So they haven't done much.
They haven't done much. Well, and
Uh-uh.
that what Colin had already saying, the wall basically just becomes a symbol to say you're not welcome in America. He is
Hmm.
saying, I'm not saying we don't need a wall, but we need to combine it with technology. We need
Yes.
to combine it with things that will have worked. But more importantly, we need to change that law and set it up so it's not, it gets stagnant. So people are impatient. If your
Hmm.
situation is not good where you were, they will wait a moment, but otherwise they're going to come on over. But you
Yes.
also have thousands of them who are not going to wait at all. They're going to come on over anyway.
Because they're desperate
Right.
and
Well,
they want to get something where they know they can make some money here. And earlier, just a few maybe a couple of minutes ago, you were talking about taking advantage
mm-hmm.
of the people you were talking about with wages and all
Yes.
that, and they've been doing that
But Lord.
for ever since, and
Yeah.
still are doing it, and still they are productive. The people that come here, they're productive and they get the job done. I would say 99% of them.
Yeah.
And they still make it. And from what I've heard down through the years, they make the money and then they send money out of what they make, out of all that uh, underpaid,
Mm-hmm.
labor earnings, and they're still able to send some back home to their families. And eventually they get their families over here.
That's true.
They
That,
make good at what they do. And the thing about it is they work together.
yeah. Operative words.
Oh, yes.
Together.
Together. And then it seems like they help one, okay, get accomplished, get their home. Then the next one, their home, and then the next one, and pretty soon, everybody has their own place and everything. I admire people for that, people for doing that. I really do. It's a
Well,
thing.
just we were doing misinformation, and
Mm-hmm.
the part of that misinformation is that the people who were affected by the hurricanes were going to get only going to get the $750,
Uh huh.
and the rest of it, rest of the money. The reason they're running out is because they're giving the rest of the money to the migrants. See, now that's misinformation. You're setting up that hate wall right
That's it.
with the
Yes, they want to
information.
have
You say,
something to say, and people believe that stuff.
if you feel you're being downtrodden, or if you feel that you're being not appreciated, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not, they're not realizing that I'm a citizen. Hey, if there were a hurricane, we'd all be applying to FEMA if it were here in our area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we had the freeze, you remember a few years back,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
people were in line at FEMA, you know,
Bless
to
her.
get whatever assistance they could.
Yes. Yeah, because FEMA will come through, won't they?
They did.
They
They
will come through. And I remember when Clee and they were in the hurricane because they're down in the hurricane. hurricane area, and how FEMA, well, they didn't have to have the trailer, but they did have, like, the lights were off at the house for a long time. As a matter of fact, they came up here to
Yeah,
Texas. Uh-huh. But you remember when FEMA put those people in all those,
trailers.
yes,
Yes, I do. Yeah,
yes. And when I go down there and on the way down and on the way back, I used to see those trailers over.
acres of
Yes, where they're not using them anymore, and I want to go. I sometimes I wish I had time to go over there and say, "May I have one?"
them. Well, you turn it into a church.
You know exactly. That's what I'm
You
talking
know
about.
exactly what you're gonna
That's
do,
exactly what I'm talking about.
and you
But
probably
anyway,
plant trees around it.
these are great, great topics, Dr. Mack. So,
Are you ready for the next
yes,
one?
ma'am, I am.
We, okay. What is your understanding of the whole on the distribution of funds that would foster growth in the southern Dallas region that was created by
Who's it?
by
Did you say?
State Yvonne Davis?
Okay,
What
and
is your
that's been a
understanding?
while, hasn't it?
Well, she got them. Let me get back. She got them in, I believe, 2022, and it
Okay.
was this week that they are going to that expire on December 31st. You know, when I say expire, they won't have anything in right, but they have stuff in writing. But the
Mhm.
city council, the temporary city manager,
Mhm.
and several other entities, the Parks and Rec situation, and the Fair Park Trust and all that, they the whole thing is that Miss Davis did some, put some benders in there that who shouldn't have been, and that
Oh.
she's saying that she had community support. They're saying they don't see it. We're
Hmm.
talking about $20 million.
Wow.
$20 million. See, we talk sometimes about there's no money coming this way, but we need to
Right.
sort of fact check that and understand why there is no money.
Wow. So you said it expired?
Well, you have a time limit when you're doing grant.
Right.
You got to show some kind of action.
Right.
That you're actually going to do something. Uh, and it was at the original application. They had $10 million going here, so much money going to put up a digital billboard out at the state fair.
Okay.
The money was going to be used for parks and parks and recreation facilities in the southern Dallas sector. And
Okay.
we can use more. We could actually use a lot more.
Right.
But there's no reason for this to be held up. But the articles that I read, all parties are saying, okay, we'll work collaboratively together to
Mhm.
get this done. But my question is, you're running out of time. Why are you running out of time?
Mhm.
You know how much is there. You know how important it is. And let's not play with it politically.
Right.
Do what you need to do. Get it into whomever you need to get it to. So
Right.
December 31st isn't a deadline. Let's not let it die there.
Right.
Let's use it because you say you need it. And when I say I need something, I really need it. I'm not
Needed.
just asking to, you know, hear
That's
myself.
me.
So,
It takes a lot to ask for something, and
amen.
like you're saying, and if I ask, I do need it. Yep. But
Let
so have they used
they're going.
any?
She's got no. They can't because she hasn't. It hasn't been done. There are questions about how it was done, and
Mhm.
especially about the vendors. When that's the one thing with grant writing. Well, you know that yourself. It over and above board because it's going to be checked not once or twice. It's going to be checked
Right.
over and over. So
Right.
get it right. And this was part
Right.
of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Fund.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so you know,
Mhm.
it's just
Wow.
it's that should not be. I mean,
No.
especially when it's done for the originally done for the southern sector of the city.
Right.
Let's do that.
Right.
I would love to hear Pastor Claudine's take on that. Just
but
love that Southern state.
maybe when she comes on next time, we might be able to. Well, she'll say what she needs to say. Well, you know that she
Right,
might go.
right.
Yes, yes. So yeah. So
But that's
anyway,
Senator, Yvonne Davis. Yeah,
okay.
and that's a state person,
Oh, okay,
and she's a Democrat. So,
okay,
yes.
okay.
What did
Well,
go to the next one?
yes, ma'am.
All right, here we go. Um, October 10th, 2024 was
Hmm.
National Mental Health Day. Do you believe that there is a stigma to early diagnosis along racial and ethnic dividing lines?
And meaning, like I know stigma means bad, uh,
Yeah.
or what, but in what sense do you mean this? Uh,
Let's just take it. Let's go with early diagnosis. Let's go
mm-hmm,
with parents.
mm-hmm,
Do parents have a stigma regarding having their children diagnosed and then finding the results? Um, and then once you get into the schools or just trying to get through the community,
mm-hmm,
day to day life, is there a stigma attached? Because there are different type of stigmas.
mm-hmm. Right.
We have the stigma where um, it's self-imposed.
Mm-hmm,
Once you get diagnosed, you start believing it because everybody's telling you you got a mental health problem. And then there's a stigma where it's done by parents and by school people, by
mm-hmm,
everybody. So what happens? Some of the people either won't do that diagnosis to begin with, or once
mm-hmm,
they do it, it's a what they call a hidden diagnosis. You just this very close group of people will know.
mm-hmm.
Then what happens with that? The person doesn't get the help they need because, well, not in my family. Well, you know, we're not talking. Most people hear the word mental health or mental illness, and they immediately imagine the worst possible
Right.
scenarios. But there are degrees of it, and
But
there's help.
yeah, yeah, degrees of it. Yes, and then it goes back to experience what we've experienced through generation after generation after generation. All of the I say evil that's been done, all of the neglect, and then it only takes just a if they say mental or mentally, then automatically people think that they're saying I'm well, they use the word crazy or whatever, and
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
if they go and then many people if they get that on their record, that record follows them, and then people say that won't affect your future, but yes it
It
does.
does. It does.
Yes it does. And so we have that, and I do, especially yeah, yeah, stigma, yeah, because there's some things I see commercials about like this. There's one test that they tell you, well, you need to get this because if they grow up they could get cancer and all of this, those things like that. Yeah, I have those.
You're going, nah. But research is also proven is that stigma is high in quote unquote minority
Hmm.
communities, much
Hmm.
higher than it is in non-minority communities.
Because we don't trust them.
Right, right. Yeah, it's you know, I know it's not related, but you go back to the Tuskegee,
Yes ma'am.
yeah, you, and you don't forget things like that
No ma'am.
because nothing was done about them using them as guinea pigs.
Hmm.
Nothing.
And then you remember about this doctor that was subjecting women of our persuasion to all these things, women, what is he, operating on them and taking the reproductive
Oh yeah,
systems and different. You remember that?
that as that situation occurred with the Native Americans also.
Also, yes, ma'am. And I'm pretty sure
They
with
were
just about
given
every minority.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and experimenting and doing surgery on them with no anesthesia and all of that. Well, of course, we know that Hitler's folk did that to the
They
yeah,
did.
yes, ma'am.
Ethnic
So
cleansing, I think they call it now.
yeah, when they were the ones that needed cleansing, but anyway, so much is going on, and we cannot help but to have that. We're open minded, we want to be open minded, but then there's still that, be careful, watch it.
Understand what it's. That's also one of the reasons we have a shortage of people who enter medical clinical trials,
Mm-hmm.
reviews and things, because they feel that they're not being told all of the truth, or that there's an ulterior motive that has nothing to do with what they're saying they're
Right.
working on. So,
Right. And how do you know until after it's already done?
are you in the trial group, or are you in the placenta group? You just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Placebo, yeah. So it's a, what is that? Six in one hand and a
Half
half dozen in the other.
the
And then they say that you condemned if I say condemned if you do, and you're condemned if you don't.
other. I use the D word with that one. Try not,
Okay.
try not to do that.
Just get on down with it, huh?
Come right on out with it and say, Lord, forgive me. I've done it.
I,
I'm
I was
working on myself. I'm
I was
working on it. Work should be
I,
done, Lord.
I
Work
was
should be done.
speaking in church. I was speaking, so I said, "You condemned if you do, and condemned if you don't." And I was looking at this young man, and we almost both got tickled because he knew. I'm sure he was thinking that other word because it all means the same thing.
It's communicating.
Yes, ma'am.
Not that way in church.
Because he almost got tickled, and I was standing up there doing a message. That's why
Wow.
I try not to make eye contact with certain people when I'm
When you're
speaking.
working, when you, I do understand. But we both agree that stigma or not, when
Uh
it
huh.
comes to mental illness within our group, within our ethnic group,
Yes. Hmm.
when there's a way to work with it, we should
Yes.
work with it, and we're comfortable, you know. But try to understand, especially with the person who is has been diagnosed.
Hmm.
Try to understand how it's going to affect them.
Right. Right.
you know,
So
Give them a
true.
chance to have a quote unquote normal life. And notice I'm saying quotes because there's no such thing as normal. What's normal for me may not be
Be
normal for you.
normal for right. Exactly. So my
And we
norm might not be your norm, and
That's
your norm might not be my norm. But either way, it's normal for us.
right.
Hmm.
And let's
Right.
let's give the children a chance, and then protect them once the diagnosis is out there.
Right.
Give them a chance to, if the diagnosis is there, if you go with the treatment or whatever, but make sure you keep here we are, keep both eyes open to make
Right.
sure that child is not, put in any jeopardy, so that
Right.
he or she can grow up and be um, uh, the best citizen they can be. And we
Right.
won't have all of these news reports that he was suffering from mental illness. Come on, give me a break. All of that's
Hmm.
not, everything is not, or if that's the case,
Hmm.
everything is a mental illness situation.
And the thing that really, really, I stress it. I want to stress it. I will continue to stress it. Do the research
Yes.
and ask questions when you're in there in the office when they're doing whatever they need to do. Ask questions before they start. I make sure that if I'm myself or if I'm with a family member, okay, if they come in there with a shot, okay, what kind of shot is this? What is it for? And then if they come there with a medication, okay, what is this medication? What will it do? Ask questions and then don't stop there. Do the research. That's what
Absolutely.
we need to do. Knowledge is power,
I believe.
and knowledge is what we need, and so many people don't do the research. Do it before you go. If you have an appointment, search it out and find out, and then when you go in there, you're ready and you can ask questions or either make the comments in an intelligent way. Okay, well, it talks about this and it talks about this in the reading that I did or the research or whatever. If you watch the film or something, well, do we still say film? A video or something? But we need to be up to date, as much up to date as we can on every thing that we experience, especially if we have something planned in advance, like these doctor's appointments and everything. Nothing beats power
Mhm.
and
And
knowledge. The wait a minute, knowledge is power.
and
Nothing beats that. And we need to be more what is it, adamant about that, and just learn. We need to learn and know what we're facing when we go, or what the possibility may be, and everything. So I do that, and I hope I know many people do it,
I do.
but then not enough people are doing it.
Well,
So okay,
that's
Dr.
our
Mack.
look at that's our message to you today. And
Yes,
once the diagnosis is given, understand that there will be stereotypes, there will be prejudices
yes,
against person. So just do what needs to be done. Be
right.
aware. Do as Pastor Shirley is saying, be aware and focus on what has to be done.
What has to be done, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I remember I went to, I just want to add this. I went to, for one of my visits, I went, and so I was talking to the doctor, and he said, well, I'm the doctor. And I'm thinking, well, I'm paying you. You working for me. I didn't tell him that, but anyway, I was thinking that because some of these people are so, what would I say? High minded, or headed till they feel like you don't have a right to ask questions. And some people get aggravated if you ask questions, but I want to tell everybody they can get aggravated till they turn purple and green. Ask. And then when you go in there, have some idea of what is going to go on when you go in there with whoever you are going with, if it's for yourself or whatever. Do the research, find out what's going to take place, or find something out about your visit and what's going to take place, and you'll know what to expect. And then you can go in with this assurance, and that will help you feel better to know kind of what the process is.
It's we'll do something on it one day. You have to be careful. There are those who are in the healthcare profession who
Hmm.
have a God complex,
That's
and
it. That's
we'll,
exactly what
we'll
it
go,
is. Some
go
of them do, yes.
we'll go in more details regarding that God complex.
Right,
Want to move
right.
on to the next one?
Okay, okay.
All right, here we go. The next one. Oh my.
The biblical scripture.
Yeah, yeah. Um, What biblical scripture or scriptures would you share regarding hate during this period of unrest around the world? Please notice we're saying around the world.
Yes, because it's all over. Oh my Lord. Well, uh, if you one thing is, well, I want to do this one first,
Okay?
and it's what is it? One of the commandments: do unto others
Yes,
as you
do.
would them do unto you. And then there's another one when we know some people say they don't believe in God, but then how can you say you love God
Yes.
and you see your brother daily or sister daily, and then you hate them? So how can you
Mhm.
say you love God? There's some people, but anyway, people have their different ideas of things. But do unto others as you would them do unto you. That would be the scripture that I would use concerning hate. Because hey, if you don't want to be hated, don't hate. But if you want to be hated, I guess you would hate. But I don't think anybody wants to be hated.
I don't either. I don't.
Mm-mm.
I know there are people who say I don't care how others think,
Right.
but that's really not true.
Uh-huh.
Everything they do, you want people to think the best of you. You know.
Exactly. And that is what do we call in counseling? They're putting up their defensive
Right.
when they say I don't care, that's the
Well,
part of the
that's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. You know,
mm-hmm.
I can say this in case you do feel that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I
And
didn't
they're
actually.
putting their defense up. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't actually write out the scriptures. I mean, I wrote the books and the verses out, and we start with the Old Testament. You know,
Uh-huh.
there's some in the verses in the Bible that talk about hate being equivalent to murder. You
Oh.
know, if you
If you
hated
hate your
that,
brothers, yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
equivalent to that. So
Mm-hmm.
I just working on general hate in First John, fourth chapter, 19 through 20th verse,
Uh-huh.
or First John, second chapter, 8 through 11 verses.
Mm-hmm.
And what hate is equivalent to murder, we're staying in First John, third chapter, 14 through 15 verses, and
Okay.
Leviticus, Old Testament, Leviticus. Um, 19th chapter, 7 through 18 verses. I have
Okay.
about 8 or 9, but I didn't
Okay.
actually write the verses out. But the Bible speaks against hate. That how can you say you love your brother, profess to love your brother, or even profess to love the Lord, when in reality you say you're winding up hating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful with that. And even though you don't have to say it, it can come out in hate speech or it can come out in hate actions. Um, if hate is there, it comes out one way or the other.
There's one song that we sing, everything in you got to come out.
Wow,
Everything. So if it's in there, it is coming out.
wow.
It is just like you're saying. It is coming up. Yes, it is.
And
All
you
right.
know,
So those scriptures, I'm sure they heard those scriptures, and then some people go back and watch it again because I do.
well, if email me and I'll give you all of them regarding hate. First of all,
Yes.
what hate is, and then how hate itself can turn to
Mm-hmm.
murder, and how bitterness can turn to hate, and that's sort of happening on the scene right now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we can have that kind of bitterness and just
Mm-hmm.
let it, as the old people would say back home, just let it fester. And
Oh
before you
my
know
Lord.
it, it is
Mm,
no longer just that bitterness. I
mm-mm.
can't stand that person. It eventually turns into I really hate that person. And you don't have to say a word, but your action, your ways and your actions will speak volumes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
true.
I'm gonna scoot to the next one,
All
Pastor
right.
Shirley, if it's okay with you.
Oh, I'm
And
ready.
all right, let's go to the additional ones. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
love this one. Um, I read the reports about a certain police department here in the state of Texas that decided to take it into their own hands and cite dealership customers for the negligence of the dealership. Allegedly, the dealership has been negligent about putting dealer tags on the back of vehicles while they are being test driven. So the
Mm-hmm.
police department decided that because they could not get the dealership to rectify the issue, they would take it out on the
On the
customer.
on the
What
customers.
were your thoughts, Pastor Shirley?
My thought is that I don't see how that could be lawful, that the police department just decides that since we can't get the dealership, then we'll just get the people that go to the dealership. That cannot be lawful. And I think it's terrible for them to take it into their own hands. Like this, a man was talking, and he said that they said to him, the policeman said, since we can't get them to put these dealer tags because there wasn't a dealer tag on the back of the car. and the man was test driving the car, and they stopped him and
Yeah.
cited him.
Ticket.
And yes, ma'am, they did. And so the reasoning was, since we can't get them, we'll get the customers, and that cannot be lawful. It just cannot be lawful. And so that's a terrible thing. These people just take the law, twist it, and do whatever they want to with it. And many times they get away with it. Like this man has to go to court unless they've rectified it already. And that's been what, a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. And then he was also then it triggered his emotions about his son dying. And so that brought that up. He said he, wanted to have a good moment, a good, what I'm saying, going to check out a car and test drive a car. And he was going to buy a car, but after that happened, he did not buy it from that dealership. And he said he just wanted a happy time because his son had not too long before this died.
Right.
Uh-huh. It's just pitiful, and I don't see how that, it aggravates me because I don't see how they can do that and still hold up giving the citations to the customers. Those people have nothing to do with that. Okay, that's me.
Well,
Okay.
I agree with you, and I think we're gonna not use the city, although we do know what city it is in.
Yes,
We won't
right.
use that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it comes down to uh, the local a local policy versus a state law, because the state law is the reason why you have to put that license tag on there by the dealership. But that's state law. But the municipal, the city law, the local law, they're the ones that's giving the ticket because they can't give it to the dealership. They got to give it to the person they catch test driving it.
Yeah,
And
but they're still not
it's
supposed to
not
be able
right.
to do that. No.
It's not, it definitely isn't right. And I don't think we've heard the end of it. I do imagine there'll be some repercussions. There'll be someone coming forth and say, "Hey, let me help represent you."
I hope so.
Well, the
I hope
dealership
so.
did agree to try and take, some responsibility. But according to the officer, this was being done, by anyone they stopped, who was test driving without the legal tags on it.
Mhm.
This was being done because they couldn't do it to the dealership. And I just think it's sort of wrong. Well, not
And
sort of wrong.
mhm,
And I agree. It did bring up grief, a lot of grief over the day
mhm,
with his son, and he was buying this pickup truck, which may have been the one needed to sort of start moving forward.
right.
Yeah.
But then another thing, the dealership did not do him right because they wanted to take part of that off of the
Yes.
price of the car. I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree, and no,
It's
no problem with that.
ridiculous. So he said, "Here we go. Condemned if you do, and condemned if you don't." Both of them messing with the man. So I don't blame him. I wouldn't have bought the car there either. But then
No.
something needs to be done about that
Yeah.
because, of
Take it
course, they are sitting there watching the dealership.
down. Of course they are.
Yes, ma'am. And then harassing. That's like, I was, maybe I better not say it like that. I'm thinking about he used to be my nephew. And he said, they Harry, he didn't say harassing. You know how this
I know.
messing with those people. But anyway, I just thought about that. I thought about that. I'm not going to say it though. But anyway, it's bad. They're harassing people, and it's not justifiable either.
No,
No.
there's no justification for that, but
Mm-mm.
it's something that will have to be worked out
Yes,
because
ma'am.
the dealership came back and said, "Oh well, we do the driving safety program or whatever it is they do for the city and all that, but this particular type of behavior is not is not
It's
fair.
terrible.
Is not fair."
It's
Well,
not fair. Okay.
well, Pastor Pope, we're going in down. We're getting to that. Um, I also heard and saw the news report about school teachers here in Texas who allegedly giving sleepy stickers to the children. The stickers have some kind of chemical in them that causes the children to sleep. What are your thoughts about this? And I chuckle because having lived through this, and we
Uh-huh.
never use a sleepy sticker of any kind.
I bet they didn't do it under your administration.
That's what I said. We never.
I know that's right.
Would not have thought about doing it. But there are two kinds. There's the kind without melatonin, and then there's the kind with melatonin. And it appears, well, the ISD's police department is currently investigating. Four
Okay.
sets of parents were interviewed, and as of today, four school officials are on leave
Down there in that town.
in that municipality. It's not
Okay.
it's not something. Look, they've been doing preschool nap time for eons without sleepy stickers of any kind. Melatonin free, drug
Right.
free.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't.
and then who knows how long some of them have been doing it, and who has done it in the past and still might be doing it.
True. That is
Because
so
we just don't know. But then some things might have happened because that was melatonin. That
yes.
stuff is not supposed to be given to children,
It's
and
a
then it's not supposed to be given to people with diabetes, people who are on certain medications. It can interfere with their medication and stuff. That is dangerous, and these people are giving these people's children this stuff. They need to be, how we say it, under the jailhouse.
under the. I just think it's poor teaching tactics. You don't need it. You
And
don't.
that's not teaching anyway, that's just being
That's I
lazy.
want to make sure they get to sleep so I can have a break, or I can go to my meeting, or I can run it. It's just not needed.
Right, and
The
that's
sleepy stickers.
dangerous.
Look, the sleepy stickers there was no approval from parents. Parents were not aware this was being done
Right.
until the little girl took it home so that she could show her mother, which chain
She
reaction.
thought it was something, maybe might have thought it was a prize or something.
Well, I
You
love
know, the
that.
child I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
they
she
love.
was that the 4-year old? They said
Yes, and
yes.
and the last comment by the dad who said, "Well, I noticed my son was awake at 2 a.m. in the morning.
That's
He already
ridiculous.
had as much sleep as he needed,
My
but
Lord. That's
don't do it.
dangerous.
Shouldn't have been done. Shouldn't have been done.
It
I
should
don't.
not be done because
It
some are
is
still
not
doing it,
school
I'm pretty
policy
sure.
that was also related in a second, oh no, a third article I read.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't. It should not have been done.
No.
No, 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 no justification whatsoever.
And
None.
everybody, we're hearing this from a principal right
Shoot.
there. Principal, and you in more areas of administration.
Oh, a central administration. I actually
Uh-huh.
worked at a central office. Um, we'll go. Shall we go to the next one?
I think that's, oh, we can talk about the Cowboys. Is that
No, we've
what is
reached
the
our
next one?
what?
What are your comments on the
Oh my!
Dallas Cowboys this
Oh my
week?
God! Oh my!
They
Oh my!
won.
I know, but they gonna have to play this week. They play the
Who do they
Detroit
play this
Lions.
week?
Detroit.
Oh,
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're red hot. They're good. I think they've lost one and they've won four. And
Okay.
yeah, it's I don't care. They have so many Pro Bowlers, and they're
Uh-huh.
hungry right now. They want to win. They
All
want.
right.
The game starts at 2:45 at AT&T Stadium.
18. Oh, they're playing us here.
Home game is a home game. It is
Okay.
a game.
And you
So
said Detroit has 4 wins.
yes,
Okay.
yes, but
Well, we're gonna hang in there with them. I said cowboy for life.
well,
Cowgirl for life.
yeah, let us just go with it this way.
We're
As
gonna get
long as they're not playing the Saints, we okay. So they're not playing
because
the
the
Saints.
Saints got us. Oh, they got us, didn't they?
Yes, they
Oh,
did.
they did.
You get a real quiet. Hooray! What
Yeah,
about
because
them dogs?
that's your people.
I know what about them dogs. It's
All
gonna be
right,
all right. It's
Dr.
gonna be
Mack.
all right. Well,
This
you
has
know,
been
Doctor,
wonderful.
yeah, our time. We're
We
within our
went
time.
over, but that's okay. It's been wonderful. I enjoy being here with you so much. I tell you, I enjoyed it. Everybody that's with us, thank you so much for being with us today. And at this time that we're on now, and so we're just happy that you joined us today. And we just hope to see you. Well, you will see us, God willing, next week. Dr. Mack will be back, God willing, on Wednesday. Dr. Mack, go ahead.
On Wednesday, we'll be back with the webcast from the Biblical Files of Dr. Mack, and
Mhm.
we'll be doing the Book of Amos.
All right. Oh, that sounds good. And tomorrow night is Saturday evening Bible lesson session with Greater Gospel Temple Church of Praise and Worship and Inspiration of God Ministries. And I really don't know what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow as a subject, but whatever God gives me, I'm just thankful for it. And I know that we'll be able to deal with it and that you'll be blessed by it. And also on Sunday morning at 7 a.m., Greater Gospel Temple Church of Praise and Worship and Inspiration of God Ministries, uh, Manna from Heaven webcast. And so we're just thanking you for joining us, and our numbers are going up and up and up. And we just thank you all for watching us and being here, participating through the messages and everything, and then sharing the webcast. And we really appreciate that. I'm talking about every one of them, from the files of Dr. Mack, the Greater Gospel Temple, to Point of View. Thank you all so very much. Dr. Mack, your closing remarks?
Please be safe and be careful of the hate. Be careful of the stereotypes regarding the mental health that goes on. And above all, check on misinformation.
Yes, yes.
Take care of yourself as you would want neighbors to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
May God bless you. Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank
Love you,
you.
Dr. Mack. Talk with you later. Okay.
Okay, bye.